I just remind you and said with lots of love and respect that it's about our children. It's about each and every one of South Africa's clever kids. We're not even speaking about academics only. They are our clever kids, and you give the kids an A, they will step into that A. So we are absolutely delighted to have you here this afternoon, and our wonderful, caring citizens who have decided to share a little bit of their pearls of wisdom with you this afternoon. And so we hope that it will be a fruitful session. And so I'm Ridwan Samodin from Citizen Leader Lab, and we have been partnering with schools for the last 15 years, where we partner a business leader with a principal. And we used to call that program Partners for Possibility. It's now called Leaders for Education. We also have another program called Leaders for Municipality, where we partner a business leader with a manager or a leader in the municipality. So they go on a year-long journey to see how together they can hone their leadership skills. So our task is to support leaders in all spheres of school and education or in society. And this afternoon, we have what we call one of our offerings, the School Leadership Forum, which is proudly sponsored by my school and Hallwards. And I think over the last 8 years, if I'm not mistaken, Hallwards, my school, have been so generous and so kind to sponsor this program, where we roll out a year-long program offering support, partnering with different organizations to strengthen the educator in his or her classroom. Because we believe that the moment of truth is what happens within those four walls. Within those four walls is where the moment of truth lies. And we all need to answer the call of Western Cape Education Department when it says quality education for every child, in every classroom. They speak about Western Cape, but we say across the length and breadth of our country. And so we want to appreciate Hallwards, my school, for rolling out this program and supporting us. And we want to thank you for joining us on this journey, strengthening the fabric of our children so that we can give them a better quality education. So I'm going to call on my partner in crime, Miss Renee. Radiant Renee. Let's give Radiant Renee a wonderful welcome.
Okay, so what we want to do is that we are not the most important people in the room. You are. But first, I think we must say a big thank you to Vista Nova for hosting us and for the wonderful eat. Shall we go? La, 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 la. Can't hear you. La, 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 la. Thanks to Kim that we are actually here. So thank you to Vista Nova and for the amazing catering. Yes? Gorgeous. So please, can you stand? Push your chair in. Yeah. Find someone you don't know, and I know that that's uncomfortable for you, but do I care? I care about you, but I don't really. So find someone, stand in front of them, introduce yourself, and tell them why, and the tallest person first. Introduce yourself. So everybody. Yeah, I can see you thinking, fine. So the tallest person first is going to say, why are you here and what do you want to get out of it? To connect before we correct. When our learners feel like that, then that's what happens. So, did you have a great partnership with, do you know that? The thruple, lovely, fabulous. Ma'am, Jolene, why, your partner, why is she here? He wants to learn about new strategies and how to deal with things in his school. Okay, perfect. So, hands up when I do this, or when one of the speakers does this, all you do is this. We're not going to say shh, be quiet. So a better, clearer agreement in the room would have been that I showed you that before we went into partners. So you're learning a smart strategy from my mistake. Yes? Good. So thank you to your partners and sit. Yep. It was interesting to see. There are many of you that are happy. There are quite a few of you that were other. The emotion that you were feeling was not here. No one is disappointed as yet. And there one person that's mad or angry, and there are quite a few of you that are WTF that are looking what to fix. Yes? So that's what we're going to do, is what to fix. So our first speaker is Irma.
They've asked me to just come and give you some ideas of where you can seek help as special education teachers and learning support teachers, because I think most of you fall in that category. So when they asked me, I was wondering, how do you approach this? Because within the department, we also have certain rules and regulations that we must follow. And it's first and foremost our responsibility to know that as well. So before we can do certain things, there is protocols to follow, as you all know. As you know, with your SPST and the assessment of children and children that must be referred, there's all this red tape and things that we must comply with. So I'm going to start off with that, and then after that I'm going to give you my view on how you can develop yourself as a special needs teacher. So if you look at that picture there, in learner support at the department, at every district, we have the learning support, the psychologists, the social workers, and then therapeutic services. And we work as a unit. This is something that's hard for some people, but we need to know our inclusive education policies. I'm just going to name them quickly. It's the White Paper 6, which you all know, the SIAS, which I'm also sure you all know, the Full Service Inclusive School 1, the Special Schools 1, then Diversity in the Classroom, where curriculum and assessment comes in, and then the CASTLE. The one that I enjoy the most is the CASTLE. It incorporates the schools, the community, everybody in the community that can help, like SAPs or NGOs, and it boils down to the child and his environment. Okay. We're not going to read this. It's just we really need to collaborate with curriculum, and we've been waiting and hoping for that for years. And now, for the first time, in the curriculum assessment circular, they brought in learning support and the functionality of the SPST. So when we look at the SIAS pathway, I'm not going to read all of that. You are going to get it. Where do you go for help if you need assistance in any of these? You go to your SPSTS school first, and if they don't know, you go to the CBST in your circuit. You're all with me? Or is there some of the schools that don't follow this? Okay. They must help you with all of this. There might be just something that you're not clear on, is the ISP. We know there's some schools that don't have ISPs. We also found that now schools have ISPs, but they're not functional. It's all very, very, very difficult things to implement because you have a busy day, every day, and some of you have many children in your classes. Now, this is what I wanted to get to. The first thing, CTLI has really progressed in how they expanded on their trainings. There's a special needs department now at CTLI. So that's the first thing that you must remember. WCD, ctli.co.za. There's Adele in the lead there. This whole past year, we did learning support things. There was a training, what do you do when the foundations are not met in foundation phase? It's a big topic. We had 3 other topics we wanted to run this year, but we just kept on doing this, especially for grade 4 teachers. Where I just spoke to somebody earlier on, if you have a grade 1 class, how many levels can be there? There can be anything from a 5-year-old to a 10-year-old, and they're all on different levels. You might have smaller classes in your special schools, but if you think of behavior or the scholastic or anything, they all go in their different levels. Then the WCDE portal. There's also on special needs. Then one that you might not click on, that you must do, is e-learning as well. I attended a presentation by them yesterday, and it's really phenomenal what they also develop, and also upskill you in your e-learning so that you can reach your children in other ways as well. Then, my favorite one, self-study. First and foremost, science of reading. That's where we are now. Phonological awareness. We know that's the main reason why our children can't read now. And then the FAST phonological awareness program. Our main developer, Vicky David, she's also here. It's amazing, but we do have a problem with implementation. And if there's any of your schools that are not fully into science of reading and phonological awareness yet, contact us. We will come and do training with you. Okay, or put you in your district in contact with whoever does that. Then teaching for all. I don't know, did anybody do that? Who's here? Not. Okay. That is in collaboration with the British Council. It's I think it's 4 or 5 modules. They are not operational at the moment because they're transitioning to CTLI to run it out. So if you see it, then please do it. It will only be to your own benefit. Then psychosocial teacher workshops, positive behavior, circle of courage, classroom management, and positive discipline. In Metro Central, that's mostly the topics that our psychs run at the moment. And also your CBST for early identification and understanding the learning barriers. We know our buzzwords at the moment is still ADHD, still ASD, but also the umbrella neurodiversity. That is also something that you can do self-study on. Our social workers, parenting skills, gender-based violence and abuse no more. If you have the opportunity to attend it, do it. Therapy services, we have lots of parent and teacher trainings. You know the thing there is learn through play. And then we have screening clinics as well. So if maybe a special school are willing to do outreach, our schools in Metro Central does, Then they work with the therapy people to screen the children in grade R and 1, and from that we develop ISPs, or some children then get their glasses or hearing aids or whatever. That's very successful. Then there's the outside collaboration for parents. You all know WordWork, Shine, and Time. You can all contact them by yourself and see what they can offer you. Then wellness webinars. We also offer them once a term, because you all know we have to take care of ourselves. It's week 5 or 6 in this term, and we all feel like it must be end of term already. We must really take care of ourselves, and if you need, then you must ask for help. From the district and head office, our special schools, remember that the subject advisor and the learning support advisor in your circuit is also there to help you. But also the head office program managers, they are the people that must support you in whatever needs you have. Then the most important thing as well is in-house collaboration, case discussions, group support plans, ISPs, grade phase, get-togethers, your meetings, and then especially also that crossover from grade 3 to 4 in our CAP schools is very important. And if you sit together and you work together and you do your differentiation together, it just makes it easier for you. And if you want to be part of a PLC, if you don't know of one in your area, then maybe it's time for you to be the starter up for something like that, because we learn from each other every single day. And if you want to study further, if you don't have your inclusive education qualification, at the moment I recommend Northwest University. They've got their own distance learning department. It's a whole faculty. And most of the people come back and say they had no hassles, and it was the cheapest as well. Then we have inclusive education teams in Central. That is now our IA teams, one year at Vista Nova and one at Astra School. They must also be there for support. And then, as you all know, the outreach teams, for us it's Alpha and Vera. And there's also the Alice Pitt teams, which is maybe not, the level of the children is maybe a bit lower than what you need, but they also have a lot of knowledge around the ASD child and the assessment of them. So what will the key to success be? I believe differentiation, collaboration, and implementation. If we don't implement what we learn, it's never ever going to be a success. And that is what the bit of a struggle that we had with science of reading and FAST. You need to make a mind shift, and you must make it your own. And then the success is definitely going to drive you. So if I talk about the science of reading and the FAST program, the phonological awareness, just so that all of you know, there is one in Afrikaans as well, Klankeland. And then there's the isiXhosa one. I can only remember the Ulwazi part. What's the rest of the name? Okay, so that's fine. So I'm going to give you my email address. I might not be able to help you myself, but I will guide you in the right direction. Then also 2 books that we're using at the moment. There might be new editions. I am going to forward you the presentation, so you will get that. So the last thing I want to say, all the best. We are in learning support. We go out to the schools with a supportive heart, and for us, it's only the child. But we also know that you as teachers need support because it's difficult out there. Thank you very much.
All right, so Renee's asked me to speak about what I see in the classrooms. So I'm going to tell you a little story. When I started at Metro Central as a learning support advisor, this was in 2017, so a few years back, I came from a fairly well-resourced school in Milnerton. I was, before that, at a special needs school. And coming to Metro Central, working in Circuit 10, one of the schools that we support, well, a number of them happen to be in Mannenberg. And so coming from a well-resourced school, with learners performing well, generally, going to Mannenberg was just mind-blowing. The difference in what the learners, what the resources, what the schools offer to the learners is just so different. In the same year, we actually did validation at Wonderbosch Boys High School, one of our most well-resourced schools, right? And just the comparison, comparing those 2 schools. Now, the learners who attend schools in our townships, in areas like Mannenberg, Hanover Park, Bontejevel, and learners who attend schools in Rondebosch, they're the same learners. They're the same learners with the same needs, the same barriers, the same strengths. But some learners are so advantaged, and others are so, unfortunately, disadvantaged. So we went into Mannenberg, into one of the schools there, and I took my whole team of learning support teachers, of LSTs. We wanted to identify now exactly where these learners are at. Okay, so we went in and we screened all of the learners in the whole school over a number of days. All of us were there all day, every day, screening learners. We used standardized assessments. And the average of all of those learners tested from grade 1 to grade 7 were performing at a grade R level. A grade R level on the standardized tests. So that shows you the need in those schools. Your passion, you are here today because you're passionate about teaching, right? That just set me off. Because I see these learners, these wonderful kids, sitting in schools in our township areas. They deserve better. They were scoring at a grade R level, not because they can't, many of them, but because perhaps they haven't been exposed, they haven't had the support, they haven't perhaps even been taught in evidence-based ways. So I went on a mission, and I made it my personal mission to look into what can we do for these learners? How can we address their needs, reading being probably the most important one, right? Because if our learners can't read, they can't access the rest of the curriculum. And so I started doing, like Irma said, self-paced or your own research. And I came across the science of reading. How many of you know about the science of reading? Most of you? Okay. And I attended webinar after webinar, I did research, and I discovered that a lot of our teachers in our schools are not using evidence-aligned instruction in teaching reading. Therefore, a lot of our learners are taught to guess words using various methods, and it looks like they can read in the foundation phase, but when they get to grade 3, grade 4, they fall off the bus. And this is what is happening to our learners out there. Not because they can't, but because we didn't actually teach them how to decode and how to read and how to be successful. So science of reading, yes, it equips us as teachers to teach our learners the letter-sound associations, grapheme-phoneme correspondences, with phonological awareness and letter-sound association, to actually have the skill to decode words, to work out what the words actually say, and to know that the word says that because they are sure, they know, they've been taught exactly how to attack an unfamiliar word. And also then to encode, to spell. And so Irma mentioned consistency, right, and collaborating. And yes, it is a mindset shift for so many of our teachers who are used to teaching perhaps in a particular way. But actually teaching our learners the code, we have seen so much success already. If we equip our learners, we teach them the code, the letter-sound associations, how to decode, how to encode, we are setting them up for success, not only in the foundation phase, but across not even only their school career, but we are setting them up to be lifelong learners, to achieve success, to know that they can be successful, boost their self-esteem, and to set them up on a lifelong journey of learning and moving into the community as successful, confident individuals. So yes, Renee, the one thing you asked me to speak about, one thing that stands up, it's science of reading. So if you are not yet on that path, I would encourage you to look into it, do some research, come to us if you would like to find out more. And I just want to mention as well, yesterday we actually had a cluster meeting, and we had quite a lot of teachers, and I asked them one question. I said, what is the biggest need that you've identified out there? They gave me reading. Reading. If we equip our learners to be able to read, then we are setting them on the path for success. Everything else can fall into place from there. Thank you.
Just to tie in what Vicky says, you all know about pearls? You all know about the 8 out of 10 learners who cannot read for meaning? I don't want to dampen the spirit, but that is our work. Okay, so we're going to call Kim, who's going to share a little bit of her pearls of wisdom with us. Welcome, Kim. Let's give Kim a nice round of applause.
And I'm so happy to see some of my colleagues sitting there, some familiar faces, and as well as to meet so many new people as well. I taught here for 9 years, and when I arrived here, I knew very little about dyslexia. In fact, I didn't really know what it was. But heavens alive, all of a sudden there, half of my class on the description list said dyslexia. Now, what on earth was I supposed to do? I asked around with various colleagues, I Googled a bit, and also did my own research. As Vicky and Irma said, this is what we have to do, because the main thing is that you probably know as well as I do, that in your teaching course, you learn sweet nothing about dyslexia, right? I don't know if it was just me so long ago, or the teachers that have qualified more recently. Did anybody, just as a matter of interest, learn anything about dyslexia when they were studying at college or Wow, we have one, a Lone Ranger. Well, that's interesting. I'm really fascinated to hear that, right? And do we need to know about it, or is it only if we are at a special needs school? The thing is, we do, because 1 out of 5 children in any class in a mainstream school has got some sort of dyslexia. Yes, there are different types. There's the phonological type, that's got to do with sound and hearing. There's the visual type, that's got to do with your processing, your visual processing, okay? And we've got to be able to see from these weird things that they produce in their writing books if there is perhaps a problem. How are we going to do that? Okay, so we open up their book, they hand in something, it looks like, I don't know what is this, and we have to screen in various ways to see what the problem is and what we're going to do about it. Because if we don't do something about it as teachers, I don't know who is supposed to do something. But most of us don't know because we weren't taught it. So don't feel bad, but we have to come to a point where we start making a plan. And I just want to, in these short 10, 15 minutes, share just some of the nuggets that I've learned, try and put it in a bit of a summary. And you can always contact me later for detail what I have learned. Okay, so how do we screen? There are online basic screeners that ask little questions. Does your child you confuse B's and D's? Does your child not have attention? Does your child put all the words like saw instead of was? Does your child write 5 words together with no spacing? Does your child this, that, or the other? And then you add up the scores and you see if there is perhaps a problem. If so, you need to do further screening. What further screening is there? Well, as a dyslexia therapist, I qualified last year, I can do more detailed screening, which can show you whether it is visual dyslexia, or whether it's auditory dyslexia, whether it's what they also call kinesthetic dyslexia, and of course the various combos of those. And each of those has got a different kind of therapy, okay? So it's actually very important that you get to know what type of dyslexia it is so that you can do something about it and help the child to move through the education system. Because as I think it was Vicky said, if they do not know how to read, then they don't know how to do history, they don't know what to do with word sums, geography, science, homework, and they start falling through the cracks. The behavioral problems appear. They start becoming stroppy. They're the moody ones, they're the rude ones, and only because they are so frustrated and they actually need help, and they need basic help. Okay, so what is dyslexia? It's a neurobiological condition that affects processing in the areas of the brain. It doesn't mean you're stupid. In fact, most dyslexic people are very intelligent, and it comes out in other ways, not in the standardized school system, and you won't probably see it in their maths test or the various tests that we give them in schools, but they can shine in so many different areas. Okay, now I would just like to show you a brief writing sample, if I can switch this on, which is another way of screening. Okay, well, she's going to try and put up a writing sample just to show you another way that you can screen for dyslexia. Okay, you will see that there are errors in capitalization always, or not always, these are some of the features. There can be errors in capitalization. In other words, the child doesn't put any capital letters in anywhere, even for the word I. You won't see capitals. Or else they will put random capitals. There we go. Okay, am I standing in the way of it? They might put random capitals in the wrong places, like in the middle of a word. Okay. Another thing is punctuation. They will put random full stops. They know there have to be full stops somewhere, and they think, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And they put some full stops. Teacher, I've put my full stops in. Right, it's not that one, it's not that one. Oh, is it moving by there, stop. Okay. Okay, I was going to do a whole presentation like a slideshow, but we were told not to use slides. So all of that is for another day, the rest of it. But this one, I wonder if anybody would like to try and read maybe the first couple of lines, because I'm sure you've all seen this. And as I say, only teachers can read this stuff. Who would like to read it for us? Thank you. I am excited. Wow, guys. Now you know you are a teacher. This is grade 3, grade 4, end of grade 3, going into grade 4. Okay, so they have learned letters like A says ah, B says ba, but it doesn't always stick. It doesn't always stick. Why doesn't it stick? It's not because the teacher didn't teach it, or the mommy didn't listen to the phonics or the reading or whatever. It's because of processing in the brain. Right, let's do a bit of neuroscience practical here. I would like everybody to point to their visual area of their brain. Here it is, I'm just showing you. Point to your visual area of your brain. Right, we all got one. Point to the auditory area of your brain. It's where you hear. This is where what you see goes into the visual area. What you hear goes into the auditory area. Okay? The speech area is somewhere near the front. Okay, this is all plus minus. I'm not, that clued up. But there are different areas in the brain for these different things. Now, the problem is with children that struggle to read, and for some that are eventually classified as dyslexic, is that the neural pathways in between those areas are often not developed enough, or they work differently, they're not connected strongly, and this is what the problem is, right? They know some of the sounds, but they don't always recognize them, okay? So what are we going to do? As some of the others said, we have to know, this is the science of reading, right? If you ever hear, like I said, the science of reading, it's to do with what's happening in the brain, okay? If you would like to see a video on the science of reading, there's a free one somewhere. Sorry, my throat. Pride Reading Program. I can also put my email up later for any details. But Pride Reading Program has got an excellent free webinar stroke video that tells you all about the science of reading. Okay, and it's called What Do All Teachers Need to Know About the Science of Reading? And that was one of the first things that I thought I better watch this thing, right? And it really clues you in and helps you to know what the things are that you need to know. Okay. So you can have more detailed screening, as I said, to know what kind of dyslexia you've got and what remediation or therapy from a dyslexia therapist or I think speech and language therapists as well. But if you want a diagnosis, you must go to an EdPsych, educational psychologist. That is the only person that can give you a proper diagnosis. And then they will check all your scholastic and your cognitive abilities, including the reading deficits and the recognition of letters problems, and they will give you accommodations, okay? They will say you can have a reader and a scribe for tests, or you may have extra time, or you might need a separate venue for your tests so that somebody can read out loud for you. And you might get assistive technology as well, like be put on a typing program, like read and write, like we have here at Vista Nova. First, the children have to learn to type, the little ones. Then they do the read and write program, which is like predictive text. So they learn as they go along. And as they get older, they can use the Dragon program like they use in our high school, which is speech to text, where they say, I like to do this, and up it comes on the screen, I like to do this. Okay. Also, there's Immersive Reader, which is part of the Microsoft bouquet, thank you, and that is text to speech. Okay, so you can highlight a page and it will read it for you. You can choose what kind of a voice you wanted to read it in, a male or female, faster, slower, whatever like that. Okay, but what can we as teachers do in the classroom? Okay, like here they get sent to OT and to speech. It's fantastic. They are elements of dyslexia in speech, but they go there for half an hour a week. They go to OT for half an hour a week. We have them for the rest of the time. How are we going to incorporate anything to do that will actually help these kids? Remember, most of them are picture learners, visual learners. If you can put a lot of visual aids into their work, a picture next to a word, that helps them to relax and also to recognize words and learn them. Our multi-sensory teaching is the thing that's the most important. What on earth is that? Multi-sensory. Obviously, we've got all these 5 senses: vision, hearing, touch, movement, kinesthetic, right? Visual, the eyes, and so on. We've got to incorporate those senses. For example, when you're doing spelling, I'm just going to give a very basic example. We want to teach the children how to spell dog. Okay, so we're going to count how many sounds there are, and we're going to tap. Tapping is the movement. D-A-G. Okay, or stamp. D-A-G. There are 3 sounds. That means there are 3 letters. This sounds like foundation phase stuff, and it is, but often, I was from the IP, right, intermediate. They often still need that in the intermediate phase. Especially since COVID and all the learning loss that occurred. Okay, so you might want to teach them movement writing. They must write in the air, dog. And you've got to turn around to show them. D-A-G. And then they must close their eyes and see those letters in the air. Visualization, right? And then they remember it better because they see it. You actually can, if you close your eyes and try it, let's spell dog. Close your eyes and write in the air, dog. D-A-G. Can you see it? Okay. It becomes clearer and clearer if you try doing that thing. And that picture that you see and that movement of your arm, using the different senses, the movement sense, the visualization sense, overcome some of the deficits in the processing. Remember I said the different processing? There's weaknesses. These kind of tricks or strategies help to overcome some of those things and help to embed D-A-G is dog. Okay. Right. Now I want to see who's really clever. Who can read? I quickly wrote this word before I came. I want you to look very carefully as educated teachers and to tell me what word this says. Anybody tell me? Renee, what would you say? Yes, you picked on me. This is your moment, girl. Or anybody want to help Reda out? You say zip or zap? Okay. Okay. Let me not waste your time any further. It says nothing. It's just a bunch of squiggles. Sorry. but well tried. It's just a bunch of squiggles. And for a dyslexic child, you put a word in front of them with a duh and a ah and a g, and it looks like this. And you tell the child, read this. I've shown you these things before. I've taught you this word 10 times. Read this. And they see and they say, what did you say? Zap. Okay. Because they don't have a connection between what this squiggle is and a duh, because that's what a duh is. For us, we've learned what a duh looks like. They've forgotten or didn't stick in their brain, right? So it could be anything, but that's what the alphabet is like for the dyslexic child in the beginning. This could be dog, this could be cat, it could be mat, it could be whatever with 3 sounds. They can see it's got 3 sounds probably, and from there on they've just got to guess, okay? So that is the alphabetic principle or the code that has to be cracked, that they have to know that A says A, B says B, how to blend the letters, how to take some off the front or off the end, what happens to the word, a spot. If I take the S off, what is it then? Pot, okay, and things like that. Those are the things, the strategies that help the dyslexic child to learn how to read. Okay, I think I'm here. If anybody would like to contact me for this kind of information, I haven't brought all the slides and the details along, but my email is up there somewhere. I'll put it up just now. And if you need anybody that needs individual therapy, I do it from home now that I'm retired 2 weeks ago, for screening exactly where the dyslexic child is at. Hi, Donovan. And what kind of therapy they need, and it's done in quite a quick manner. It's not drawn out for years, right? It's something, the maximum is 32 weeks, or 30, like, you know, it's not like done for more than 6 months, the therapy. Also, what's happened in our school, I think also because of COVID, is I was a grade 4 teacher, and many of the children that came to us, in fact, not just because of COVID, but because we get referrals at any age, which you probably do as well. Like a child will come to us in grade 4 from wherever, and you do the reading assessment. And they look at these letters and they've got no clue. They cannot read a word. They cannot read the. They cannot read I. They cannot read cat, never mind dog. Right? What are we going to do with them? Because now they're in grade 4 already. It's like somebody said earlier, what do we do with the gaps in foundation, the things that they've lost in foundation phase, the gaps in their knowledge? How are we going to catch up? Intermediate phase teachers didn't learn how to teach reading. Sorry, well, very sorry for you, but we have to do something. Right, so I found all of this out. I've set up a catch-up reading program, and I was busy implementing it with my grade 4s that arrived in my class with no reading knowledge, just because they'd slipped through the cracks somewhere. That I'm also happy to help anybody if you've got older children who are called non-readers, or they just can't read, or they struggle, please let me know. It's a free video course on understanding dyslexia. It's also online. Obviously, you can do it in your own pace. It's only 2 hours, so it's very basic, but it tells you all the details. And it has little quizzes along the way after the few modules, and you get a little certificate after that as well. So isn't that a lovely surprise? Okay. So I'm going to just put my email. I haven't sort of brought all the links and things along. So if you just send me an email, or maybe I'll ask Nonhlanhla to send it out or whatever. Is that okay? All right. Thank you so much. Other than that, fluit my stories uit.
I'm Helen Antonie. So I have a long story, which I am going to abridge. And I was always just a regular teacher, a senior English teacher at a school, and speech and drama teacher. And then I had a little boy. And he was severely dyslexic. He was active, he was busy, he was a sports little boy, he had a wonderful imagination, and he would go to preschool, come back and do Old MacDonald and tell me all about Old MacDonald on his farm, and he had pigs and he had cows and he had everything there. He couldn't sequence this rhyme. He couldn't sequence. He would speak in opposites. He would ask for sugar when it was salt. He would say it's hot when it was cold. And this baffled me because I didn't know about dyslexia. Anyway, I had him tested, and I was told that he was severely dyslexic and up for scholastic failure. Freak out. So I thought, now what? So I did something about it. I went and I studied with the National Institute of Learning Disabilities in America, talking 1990s, and I learned the most unbelievable techniques. So easy to implement and so effective. And time went on, and then, now what? I'm starting a school for my child. And I did. 3 little boys I started with, 1999, and eventually landed up having 120 children in the school from grade R to matric. 3 matric classes went through me, and the children would come from different grades, from different schools, because they just didn't fit into the mainstream system. Nobody was accommodating these children, but we did. And it was a wonderful story. I was living my dream, working with other people's children, giving them life. And I said this to a mummy one day, a learning difficulty can be life-threatening. Because I can't read, I can't spell, I try so hard. All I get is 1 out of 10. And my friend gets full marks every time. So you internalize this, children, it's my fault. It's my fault. There's something wrong with me. And they don't have the emotional capacity to speak about this, the maturity, so it manifests itself in behavior. Bad behavior. Oh, he's so naughty, doesn't try hard enough. Nonsense. There's no such thing. No child wants to fail. No child. And he's not learning. Why? Because he can't. He can't read. So if you can't read, you cannot learn. And my whole thing was always look after the psychological side of life. How is this child feeling? You know, there's this wonderful poet, American poet, Maya Angelou, and she said, people won't remember you for what you've said. They won't remember you for what you've done. People will remember you for how you made them feel. You know, even a look makes you feel something, and it's not always good. It's not always good. And it's very difficult when we're working with so many children with different challenges, with different issues that they're facing. Okay, I digress. I could go on talking forever. Okay, always told me I speak too much. So, Irma and Vicky spoke about phonological awareness. And phonological awareness is an awareness of sounds, and it has nothing to do with the written word. It is purely auditory. Auditory. B. Give me a word that starts with the sound B, B, B. Bat. K. F. F. Fish. Okay. That's phonological awareness. Now, all of this has to do with what and how you hear, your auditory system. If your auditory system is not in place, there are going to be big problems. And so, it will impact your everyday life, because we all think, or maybe we don't, but nobody knows how anyone else perceives sound, or vision, or touch, or smell, or taste. Nobody. We all experience these perceptions differently. If there is a distortion in the hearing mechanism, it is going to affect that child completely. Because if we aren't processing sound correctly and effectively, we are not going to, no other form of intervention is going to be beneficial. So, I don't know if anyone here is familiar with auditory integration training. It's a music therapy that I trained for. And it was devised by a French ear and nose throat specialist, Dr. Guy Berard, in the 40s. Simply put, it is the child listens to, not only a child, we could all do that, listens to music over headphones, and it's electronically modulated music that rapidly and randomly selects high and low frequencies. And it's like a brain gym. And the intention is to break down any distortions in the hearing mechanism. And the child does this for 2.5 hours a day, with a minimum of 3 hours in between each session for 10 days. Now, we all know there are no guarantees, there are no quick fixes, there are no cures. But the results of this is incredible. Everyone responds differently. You have a bad headache and you need a Sindel. And you have a bad headache and 2 Panados will do it. We all respond differently. I have done this for the children at Wynberg, for the girls at Wynberg. About 80 so far. And some of the results have been incredible. The child who just wants to be invisible, sitting in the back of the classroom, does nothing. Suddenly, the teacher says to me, "But Helen, what have you done?" She's joking, she's asking questions, she's answering questions. She feels good about who she is. Other children starting to read better, starting to answer questions better. The results are wonderful. So, I have left at the back of the hall, I've left some pamphlets, or rather information, on what the therapy does. And I've also left my business card there, and I'm happy to assist anyone with anything. And the results of this music on autistic children has been incredible. Dr. Berard died in 1914, and in 1915, a whole conference was arranged for different practitioners from all over the world to meet in London. And it was absolutely wonderful. Everyone's stories on what experiences they have had and results they have had with this music therapy. So that was really fantastic. And Dr. Berard wrote a book entitled Hearing Equals Behavior. Hearing equals behavior. Some children put their hands over their ears because they can't stand the sound, or they start making a noise when there's too much sound around them, trying to get rid of that sound. The vacuum cleaner, the washing machine, too many cars driving up and down. Sometimes I see children just walk out of the classroom. They just can't stand the noise. Such sensitive hearing. So this goes on forever. I won't go on forever. And I would just leave you with that. Hearing equals behavior. Thank you.
I want to tell you that the lovely thing, the most important thing I think for teachers is to be, first of all, fully flexible, yes? And also for us to connect and collaborate and to create something better together. And really, Kim and Helen they were both very nervous about coming and speaking to you. And I think they did an incredible job. So can we just say thank you to them? Really. And so now it's your turn to move, yes? You know what they say, if you're sitting on your bum, your brain is numb. Yes or no? Yes. Yes. So what I'd love you to do, and remember the agreement in the room is when I do this, I just need you to look and listen because I'm going to need to say something. All right? Okay. So what I would love you to do is to look around, find 2 other people that you're not usually sitting with, because I know you sit in your teams at school. So the conversation is always the same. That child, that parent, that Department of Education, yes? Okay? So find 2 other people. So you're in 3s. Take your chair, take pen and paper, okay? And just sit like in a little triangle. You can move now. Yes?
It's time to come together. It's up to you. What's your
You are not engaging with your parents. If you are not engaging your parents as part of your team, you're missing out. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. So, the win. What's important now? Yes? What is needed? Who is needed? What I need? Are you see? Yeah? So when you start playing with something like that, your brain starts thinking and looking for what is needed. What's important now, Renee? I've got a class, the child is pushing every button. Yes or no? Yes. The parent, I'll just see that parent pushing every button. What's important now, Renee? Breathe. What's important now, Renee? Wait. Yeah? What's important now, Renee? Wait. Because that wait is saying, like, what am I teaching? You got it? Yes or no? So we are very good at telling that child, be calm, stop shouting. We're telling the child, stop shouting. Leicester, listen where my voice is. Yeah? So what am I teaching as the person, the human being in the class? Because if I can't self-regulate, how do I expect my child to self-regulate? So we know this. Yeah, we know this, the burn the duh. Show me. Yeah, the burn the duh. So where am I balanced? Where am I dysregulated? Because that makes a big difference to who and how I am showing up in class. Yes or no? Who am I being and what am I doing when I walk into that staff room? When I walk into that classroom? Who am I being and what am I doing? And between the burn the duh comes the curly-cur. Yes? Am I caring? Am I connected? Only you can answer those questions. No one else. Only you know what happens in your class. And so the beautiful thing about something like this is it's just an invitation. The win is what's invited now. Because that's what's important now. We have a chance, just like one of the, I think it was Helen, was saying, your children, we are remembered, eh? Long. So do you remember your best teacher? I want to see. I want to see. Come. Do you remember your best teacher? Listen, you're not going anywhere until you tell me and show me. Do you remember your best teacher? You must celebrate that best teacher because you may be 30, 40, some of you, I'm looking, maybe 50 in this room, and you can remember your best teacher, yes or no? Yes. Do you remember your worst teacher? Yes. Fold your arms. Fold your arms, I want to see. You remember her or him. And then there are teachers that you just don't remember at all. Oh, yes. You are the teachers that are going to be remembered. Yassie. Which one? And the challenge with teachers and the beauty of you sitting in this room is every day you make that choice. So the key, we spoke about the keys, it's to keep empowering yourself. You got a whole lot of information from Irma. You got where to go. Kim shared other places where you're going to be able to go to the free video. Like, keep empowering yourself. When you pick up your keys to go to school, say to yourself, what am I going to learn today? Because why? The whale, W-A-I-L. Yes, W-A-I-L. It's like you can wail at the end of the day. Sometimes you are wailing somewhere in the middle of the day. Like, hey, this is challenging. I remember I taught deaf children when I came back from the UK at Wittepoorme in Afrikaans. I was wailing. I lasted like 6 months before I went to Sea Point Primary. Yeah? However, the wail changed to, what am I learning? Are you with me? So there are always two. So I always think of my bande like glasses. You know, like if you look there, it looks like a pair of glasses. You put them on. Like, can I shift my mindset? Yeah? My motivation and my method. And if those three aren't aligned for you, your mindset, your motivation, and your method, school's going to be very tough for you. You are in a tough, challenging profession. Why? Because it's like a pack of cards. Your children arrive in your classroom. You may have this, and this in a suit, you know. You may have none of those. You may have a different set. It's a challenge. And now, how do you prepare yourself so that actually you arrive strong in your class? So parents are a big thing. And I know often teachers don't want to engage with parents. Smart strategies. Like they were talking about the phonics and the phonological things. So I've got a whole lot of, I always bring props. So you saw there the doppies, yes? So all my schools will play with doppies. And on the doppies, I work all over the country. So Diepsloot, my people will have, my teachers, my parents, they'll put the alphabet on the doppies. They collect them. And it's abacad, all in plastic. The children then play at home, building words, throwing around, run to the sound, run to the sound, k. Are you with me? So think about, what do you have? Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. You know that lovely saying, yeah? Think about things that you can send home that don't cost you money. So next week I will be in Worcester with Rainbow Chickens. You know the chickens you eat from Rainbow? So I'm working a parent program there. And that's what we'll do. The parents will make those doppies, and they'll have numbers, and they'll have the sounds, and they'll have the blends, and we just play. Why? Because children learn best through play. However, we have to give the parents the tools. So you got those Pick and Pay ads, those Woolworths ads, those Checkers ads, all those. So Pick and Pay, what you pick, you will pay for. What you pick for in your class, what you pick for yourself and for your children and for your parents, that's what you pay for. Yeah? So you can do most incredible workshop around just using adverts to help your kids. They're an amazing self-regulating tool as well, because I will grab the ad and I will scrunch it, I will tear it. You got to work some things like that. So, in your threes, I've spoken enough. In your threes, the one with the smallest feet, find out who you are, please. Smallest feet. So smallest feet, quick. You are going to be the person that's going to start in your threes, okay? In your threes. You're going to go around and you're going to say, what are my biggest challenges? Just quick. We've only got like 15 minutes left. Quick. What are my biggest challenges and what are my biggest, smartest strategies in the class that I use now? Biggest challenges and smartest strategy that you use now. Yes? One thing that you can make very sure of is that until you look after your me, you cannot look after your we. And so unless you look after this thing that is your my energy, you are not going to be able to take care of your my environment and the children that are in your environment. And I think for me, that's one of the biggest lessons I learned. So if you leave here today and you take one thing away, unless you look after this, it's going to be even more challenging. And you are in the business of challenging. You are in the business of brain development. Your burn is brain development, and it's yours and the learners in your class and your parents, because then you're the team. And the idea of today is actually to share with one another and connect with other people, because then you get better ideas. So did you get a better idea this time? Yeah? So tell us one thing that was maybe new for you.
How much struggle it is for Kailicha, just for basic resources.
Yes. So the whole thing around basic resources. Yeah? Who had a challenge around basic resources? Raise your hands if you had one. Basic resources. So I am the queen of basic resources. We will organize a free workshop for you. Yes? One thing that I can do when I walk into a class in Diepsloot, in Alex, in Kailicha, in the place is, can I see the best in you rather than the worst in you? And that's the challenge, because some of us are tired rather than inspired. And the big thing for us is like, how do I maintain being inspired? How do I keep a big why? Because you make the biggest difference in the whole world. And you may be the only person in that child's corner, especially when you've got such a big class there. So you need to look after your head and your heart. And you need to know what it is that feeds your head and heart, because you will have massive challenges. So here is my number if you want it. Yes, 082 08271. My number 08271 44356. 08271 44356. Renee. And my surname is this Lighton, yes? Lighton. I married the right man. I discounted all the other men. No, I don't like your surname. I do like your surname. This is my promise to you. I don't know everything. I certainly don't know. I still know that I've got a lot to learn. I know a lot of people. And so if I can help you, I will. Please don't phone me. Please voice note me or message me, okay? And if you are stuck, let's see how we can move like little steps, the smallest steps to success. Like have a parent workshop. Practical, playful, engaging. PPE, practical, playful, and engaging. That's what we need. And we need as teachers to be playful, to be positive. Yeah? Our education system and ticking the box for the curriculum, I can say this because I'm not part of the WC, it's a challenge for us. We've got all of that admin, all of that paperwork, and you've got to show up as your best. Toch. Challenge. So you need people in your corner who can actually remind you, like, what's important now. Just take a step. And wait. What am I teaching? Why am I teaching? Who am I teaching? Because your contexts are all different, eh? When am I teaching? And your parents need to know they're teaching as well. And how do we invite them on this journey? Because our special ed children need it even more, I would say, than our others. Yes or no? Yeah. So today was just an invitation to connect, to play, and to give our speakers an opportunity to speak. And really, I think the Nonhlalala will tell you, I mean, they do a great job. So we want to say thank you for coming.